The laughter around the table thinned into static in Alex's mind. For a brief moment, the dome ceiling shimmered, constellations flickering like memories he had tried to bury. 15 years ago, a reunion he hadn't wanted to attend. He had arrived with nothing but a sketchpad, speaking with fire about designing immersive art that merged biology and code. His cousins had laughed then too. Nathan had called it pretty doodles for poor people. Claire had smirked. Uncle Victor had leaned in with that same condescending weight and declared, "Real success is measured in institutions. Wealth, recognition. Anything else is delusion." The room had applauded, Alex had been dismissed, and the doors to future gatherings had quietly closed. Now those same doors were open again, but only because curiosity had gnawed at them. Rumours of his success had spread, distorted by gossip. Tonight, they came to measure if the stories were true. Alex inhaled, steadying himself. The past burned like cold metal in his chest, but it was no longer an anchor. Tonight, he would not defend himself. He would let them choke on their own assumptions. Claire flicked her wrist, projecting her personal feed above the table. "Our firm just closed a merger with Helix Corp," she announced. $300 billion in assets. It took months of negotiation, real work. Numbers cascaded in the air, glowing symbols of her triumph. Nathan clapped, Victor beamed. Then Nathan pulled up his metrics, courtroom victories. His face splashed across news feeds, his prestige rating flickering just above 9. "This is what discipline earns," he said pointedly. The room hummed with approval. Every projection, every stat reinforced the hierarchy. Alex reached for his glass. The woman beside Claire, the one with the mischievous smile, leaned slightly toward him. Her voice was low enough not to broadcast. "Do you keep yours off by choice or—" Her gaze flicked above his head. Nothing floated there. No projections, no brand score. "By choice," Alex murmured. Her lips curved. "Dangerous. People assume the worst when you don't show numbers." "They already did," Alex said. 15 years ago. Their eyes held a moment too long. Claire noticed. Her smile tightened. Victor cleared his throat. "Alex, surely you have something to show. A brand index? A partnership? Anything measurable?" Alex tilted his head. "If numbers are all you want to see, you might leave disappointed." Silence stretched. Then Victor laughed, but there was unease in it. Dinner shifted into debate. Wine refilled glasses. Voices grew sharper. Nathan smirked. "It's quaint, really, living outside the system, but prestige isn't optional anymore. Without visibility, you're irrelevant." "Or invisible," Claire added, "which might suit some people." Victor leaned back, fingers steepled. "But let's be honest, Alex lives in a glass mansion. He wants to be seen." The table chuckled. Alex set down his glass. His reflection shimmered faintly on its surface. He looked calm, but his pulse beat hard at his throat. "You mistake visibility for value," he said quietly. The woman's eyes brightened, as though she heard music in the words. Nathan leaned forward, predatory. "Then tell us, cousin, what's your value? Enlighten us." Alex smiled faintly. "Not tonight." Victor barked a laugh, always evasive, always the dreamer. But unease spread like cracks across ice. The more Alex refused to play, the more they pressed, and the more their hunger showed. When the plates cleared, Alex excused himself briefly, returning with a decanter of wine so dark it glowed violet beneath the lights. "This one's personal," he said, pouring into crystal. Victor lifted his glass, sniffed, smirked. "Imported?" Alex shook his head. "Cultivated, my vineyard." The table stilled. Claire laughed quickly. "A vineyard? Since when are you a farmer?" Alex didn't answer. He turned instead to the woman beside her, sliding the glass closer to her hand. Their fingers brushed, deliberate, subtle, a spark. She raised her glass, inhaled the scent, and smiled. "This is extraordinary." Nathan rolled his eyes. Wine and houses don't make a legacy. But her gaze stayed on Alex, playful and warm. The cousins shifted, annoyed. The tension thickened. Victor coughed. A vineyard, an art house, charming side projects. But tell me, nephew, do they pay? Do they matter? Alex's smile deepened. They will. The woman's lips quirked. She believed him. The meal wound toward its end. Family voices layered like static. Accusations and boasts blended into one endless hum of materialism. Alex sat still in the center, his mind calm as a tide pool. Beneath the table, his fingertips brushed the edge of a device embedded in the wood. A quiet invention, invisible, powerful, something no one here had the imagination to predict. They thought he was a relic. They thought he was nothing. But soon the hierarchy would flip. And when it did, there would be no shouting, no vengeance, only revelation. Across the table, the woman met his eyes again. Her expression was curious, intrigued, a silent dare. Show me who you are. Alex's lips curved. Not yet, but soon. Dessert plates emptied. Conversations thinned into awkward laughter. The family rose, stretching, adjusting cuffs, rechecking projections above their heads. Victor clapped Alex on the shoulder, heavy and patronizing. Well, you've done adequately for yourself. We'll see if it lasts. Nathan smirked. Claire leaned down, whispering, Don't get too comfortable, cousin. Alex only smiled, calm, collected, patient. The woman lingered at the doorway as the family filtered out into the night. She glanced back once, her eyes meeting Alex's, a glint of challenge and interest. Then she followed Claire into the dark. Alone at last, Alex stood beneath the projected stars of his dome. His reflection stared back from the glass walls, not the outcast of 15 years ago, not the boy with empty hands and mocked dreams. He had built this, quietly, patiently, without their approval, and they had no idea what waited for them. Act 1 closed with silence, the kind of silence that precedes a storm. The next evening, Alex's mansion glowed under the city's dome lights. Its glass walls reflected rivers of neon running across the skyline. Tonight was not just a dinner, it was a gala because the family had insisted. If we're to gather, it should be fitting, Victor had declared, which meant they had invited more than family, colleagues, investors, hangers-on, people to witness their hierarchy in motion. Alex allowed it. A part of him even welcomed it. He moved quietly through the atrium as the first guests arrived. The air smelled faintly of cedar and ozone, the house's filtration system blending comfort with precision. His home didn't shout wealth, it whispered it, every detail crafted with deliberate elegance. Cousins filed in with their partners, each pair perfectly groomed, prestige ratings shimmering overhead like glowing halos. 9.1, 8.9, 9.3. They eyed one another's numbers, thin smiles betraying calculation. Then came Claire, Victor at her side, Nathan just behind. And with them, her, the stranger. She wore a dress the colour of mercury, fluid with her every step. Her eyes scanned the atrium, curious, alive, unafraid. She laughed softly at something Claire said, but when her gaze landed on Alex, the laughter paused, caught, then continued, sharper now, almost mischievous. Alex inclined his head in greeting. She returned it, a flicker of recognition already threading between them. Dinner stretched long beneath the dome ceiling, stars projected so vividly it felt like space itself leaned down to listen. The stranger, Claire introduced her as Ilara, my partner, sat opposite Alex. Every time Alex spoke, Ilara seemed to tilt toward the sound, listening as though tuning a frequency only she could hear. Conversation unfolded the usual way, Nathan recounting cases, Victor praising mergers, Claire boasting of corporate accolades. Their words tangled like currency, each story meant to buy attention. Alex remained silent, sipping wine, listening. until Nathan leaned back, smug. "Cousin," he said, voice oily with false generosity, "still nothing to show? It's strange being a ghost in a world that demands proof." Eyes turned. Ilara's brows lifted slightly, curious how Alex might respond. Alex raised his glass, but instead of answering Nathan, he turned toward Ilara. His smile was faint, deliberate. "Some people chase titles," he said. "I prefer unforgettable moments, like this one." Ilara's laugh came quick, bright, genuine. A ripple of surprise moved through the table. For the first time, attention shifted, not to Nathan's metrics, but to Alex's presence. Victor frowned. Claire tightened her grip on her fork. Nathan flushed. The balance had cracked. Ilara swirled the wine in her glass. "This is remarkable," she said. "I've never tasted anything quite like it." Victor chuckled condescendingly. "Imported, no doubt. He's always had expensive tastes." Alex leaned back, letting the moment breathe before speaking. "Not imported, cultivated meaning?" Claire asked sharply. "My vineyard," Alex said simply. Silence fell. Ilara raised her glass higher, her eyes locked with his. "Then I'll drink to that." Others sipped too, some grudgingly. Nathan muttered something under his breath about hobby farming, but the crack had widened. Later, as conversation shifted, Ilara gestured toward a massive wall screen displaying rotating digital art, vibrant, immersive landscapes that seemed to breathe. "Those are stunning," she said. Claire sniffed. "Commissioned, I assume. He spends." Alex shook his head. "Created." "You painted them." Ilara's eyes widened, genuinely impressed. "Designed, coded, lived, exhibited worldwide, quietly." Victor frowned deeper. Nathan's smile faltered. One by one, pieces they had mocked before, art, independence, authenticity, revealed themselves not as weaknesses, but triumphs. Ilara leaned closer, her hand brushing Alex's under the table. The touch was brief but electric, a spark of awareness neither tried to hide. Nathan noticed, his jaw tightened. Claire's gaze sharpened like a blade. "So, Alex," Claire said sweetly, venom beneath. "You entertain well, but where is the legacy? Anyone can host a dinner. Real success is measured by continuity, by family lines, by institutions." Victor nodded approvingly at her words. Alex smiled, but his gaze stayed on Ilara. "Continuity, yes, but legacies aren't built by copying old patterns. They're built by living differently, by choosing what matters." Ilara's lips parted, her breath soft, her eyes unreadable but shining. The cousins shifted, uncomfortable. For once, Alex's calm wasn't silence, it was authority. As the night deepened, conversations tangled again, louder, more strained. Nathan poured himself more wine, voice slurred slightly. "You think you're above us, cousin, with your little vineyard, your paintings. You're nothing without the system." Victor put a hand on Nathan's arm. "Control yourself." But Alex only raised his brows, calm. "I left the system, and I'm still here." Ilara laughed softly, leaning back in her chair. "Not just here, center stage, I'd say." The table stilled. Her open admiration was gasoline to the fire. Claire's jaw tightened so hard the muscles quivered. Nathan's prestige rating flickered overhead, momentarily dropping as his emotional state destabilized. He cursed under his breath, swiping furiously to stabilize the projection. Alex didn't look up. He didn't need to. He simply poured Ilara a nod toward the end of the night. As dessert arrived, Victor tried once more to reassert control. "Entertaining, nephew, truly. But this is all surface. What of substance? Where is your real contribution to the world?" Alex set his fork down, the sound precise, deliberate. He leaned forward, voice steady. "You'll see soon enough." Victor scoffed, but the unease was back. His words no longer landed as they once had. The hierarchy had shifted without ceremony, without noise. Beneath the table, Alex's hand brushed the hidden device again, the quiet invention waiting for its reveal. Not to humiliate, not to destroy, but to reorder, to show what value truly meant. Ilara caught the faintest flicker in his expression, as if she sensed the storm beneath his calm. Her gaze lingered, warm and challenging, as though daring him to let her in. Alex met her eyes. Not yet, but soon. Guests began leaving, their smiles brittle, their voices strained. Claire whispered something sharp to Ilara, but Ilara only shook her head, slipping her arm through hers lightly while glancing back at Alex one last time. Nathan stalked out, muttering about ghosts and legacies. Victor lingered, trying to mask doubt with paternal gravitas, but the weight in his eyes betrayed him. When the mansion finally quieted, Alex stood again beneath the dome, stars wheeling above. His reflection looked back, calm, patient, steady. The family's old hierarchy was cracking, silent, inevitable. And he hadn't even played his full hand yet. The plates had been cleared, leaving only polished silverware gleaming under soft bioluminescent light panels. Dessert floated in on autonomous trays, spheres of crystallized fruit suspended in carbon frost, glowing faintly like captured stars. The family admired them out of habit, but no one reached first. The silence that followed was heavy, different from before. Alex sat at the head of his own table, posture relaxed, every motion measured. He didn't need to gloat, the silence was doing it for him. Ilara leaned in slightly, her voice low, meant for him but not entirely private. "You let them hang themselves. Clever." His lips twitched. "They brought their own rope." Victor cleared his throat, breaking the spell. "Well, nephew, we cannot deny this. Evening has been illuminating." His words dragged, reluctant. "You've done well for yourself." Alex tilted his head, studying him. That almost sounded like a compliment. A strained chuckle rippled through the table. Nathan didn't join it. His eyes were fixed on his glass, knuckles white around the stem. Claire cut in, her tone too bright. "Yes, Alex, your efforts are impressive, but legacy, as I said, is about endurance. Can you truly say this? Art, this vineyard, this house will stand for generations." Ilara's hand slid across her lap, brushing lightly against Alex's. Not obvious, enough to steady him. Alex's gaze never wavered. "I don't measure worth by how long something gathers dust. I measure it by the lives it touches, by whether it changes a moment." Ilara exhaled softly, not quite a laugh, not quite a sigh. Something warmer. Nathan muttered, voice sharp. "Philosophy doesn't build dynasties." Alex turned to him at last. "Neither does bitterness." The silence after that was colder than the dessert. A hum stirred in the walls. Subtle, intentional. The room dimmed, panels shifting until the dome ceiling overhead transformed into a living projection. Not stars this time, but faces. Stories. Children laughing in villages where Alex had funded clean energy hubs. Artists painting in studios sponsored by his foundation. Families drinking wine at long wooden tables on his vineyard grounds. Real lives, illuminated in breathtaking detail, looping in perfect silence above them. Victor squinted upward. "What is this?" Alex folded his hands calmly. "The other side of success." Claire's lips parted, disbelief flickering. "You built all this? I invested, created platforms, not for prestige scores, not for projections." He let the weight settle. "For people." Ilara's hand lingered just above his wrist now, her voice a murmur. "So this is what you've been holding back?" The cousins who had once mocked him were silent, faces pale in the glow. Nathan's score flickered overhead again, dropping as envy spiked. He swiped furiously, trying to stabilize it. Futile. Alex didn't look at him. He spoke softly, almost kindly. "The hierarchy you protect so fiercely, it's already obsolete." Dessert was barely touched. Compliments began to stumble from lips that had once curled in mockery. Your art, I didn't realize. The vineyard, remarkable, truly. Impressive, quite resourceful. Their words tripped over each other, half genuine, half panicked. Victor, once so certain, leaned back heavily. His voice was quiet. Perhaps we underestimated you. Alex's smile was thin, measured. Perhaps you only underestimated what doesn't fit your model. Ilara laughed softly, the sound cutting through the stiffness. Or perhaps you simply underestimated charm. The table froze. Her gaze stayed locked on Alex, bright with amusement and something more dangerous. Desire. Nathan's jaw worked. This isn't over, he snapped. A few tricks, a few... Charities, don't erase the system. Don't think you've won. Alex tilted his head. I don't need to win. I just needed to live. The rest took care of itself. The family shifted uncomfortably. They knew it was true. Later, as trays whisked away untouched desserts, conversation fractured into smaller pockets. But Alex and Ilara stayed caught in their own orbit. She leaned close, voice low enough for only him. You've been patient for 15 years, and tonight you dismantled them without raising your voice. His eyes flickered to her lips before he caught himself. Violence is loud, patience is quieter, and far more effective. Her smile curved, slow, dangerous. I find patience incredibly attractive. He swallowed the warmth rising in his chest, keeping his voice even. Careful, they're still watching. Let them. Her fingers brushed his under the table again. Just a whisper of contact, but enough to ignite every nerve. When the evening finally drew to a close, the family rose in awkward silence. No triumphant speeches, no dismissive jabs. Their heads bowed slightly, respect forced upon them by the gravity of what they had witnessed. Victor clasped Alex's shoulder with a weight that once would have been condescending. Now it trembled with something closer to deference. You've made us reconsider. Perhaps we still have things to learn. Alex inclined his head. We all do. Claire muttered a stiff goodnight, avoiding his eyes. Nathan stormed past, shoulders rigid, fury radiating in waves. One by one they filed out, smaller than when they had arrived. At the great glass doors, Ilara lingered. She turned back, silver dress catching the low light, her eyes glittering. Alex, she said softly so only he could hear, you don't just live differently, you live better. He let the silence stretch, savouring the weight of her words. Then, with the faintest smile, stay long enough, and you might find out how much better. Her laugh was low, dangerous, promise wrapped in silk. She touched his arm as she passed, lingering just a moment too long before stepping into the night. The doors whispered shut. The mansion fell quiet. Alex stood alone beneath the dome ceiling once more, stars wheeling above. But this time, they no longer felt like projections. They felt like destiny, silent revenge, true values, and maybe, just maybe, something more.